Welcome all of you truth seekers and risk takers to Podcast Life the Battlefield. I have a question for you. Why do we humans forgetting what happened in the past and why we don't learn lessons paid so expensively in the past? Today we're going to talk about 10 Weimar lessons. I done the Weimar Republic video, check here. And today let's go rehash what's happened in the past, which is very relevant what's happening today across the globe. From the silent hyperinflation to the rise of right-wing extremism, the lessons of the Weimar Republic teach us the critical importance of economic stability, strong democratic institutions, and addressing societal divisions. To what? To safeguard democracy and prevent the resurgence of the radical ideologies. Let's go in the past. Since the founding of the Federal Republic of Germany in 1949, Germans have always been suspicious of the events of the early 1930s, including the collapse of the Weimar Republic and the rise of Nazism. Now, when democratic countries around the world are confronting significant challenges and extremism is on the rise, everyone should draw lessons from that era. We're gonna come to this very soon. But let's go start with lesson number 1. Very important lesson. Economic shock such as spiral inflation, depression, banking crisis, and more recently conflicts are concerns for all governments at all times and in all locations. Due to economic insecurity and despair, people believe that any other government would be preferable. What? Are you guessing very well? That the current one. That everybody believes it's the case. Let's go move now on lesson number 2. In this lesson, we're going to talk about something very interesting, which is reflecting situation right now. In adverse economic conditions, proportional representation may exacerbate the problem. However, if the country's political situation is fractured, the proportional representation system will almost certainly result in the emergence of a loose electoral majority, which is typically compromise of the parties from the extreme left or right that want to destroy the system, but is the only thing that brings them together, extreme left and extreme right. The general consensus regarding the Weimar experiences is compromise of the first 2 teachings. And far too often, each of these lessons is considered in isolation, which can contribute to a dangerous sense of complacency. More or less, people are assured by the first argument, which leads them to believe that only a severe economic disaster could threaten the political system. Interesting statement. The second fallacious argument convinces them, the public, that the democratic system, which lacks proportional representations, is inherently more stable. That being said, lessons from the Weimar Republic will assist us in awakening from our stupor. It will assist. Absolutely. And now we need to move on our next lesson. Lesson number 3. Referendums are risky, particularly when they are held infrequently and participants lack experience. In Weimar Republic, National Socialists had virtually departed from the Weimar Republic by 1929. However, the party was reviewed in that year due to successful campaign during the challenging reparations referendum following what? World War I, where the Germans need to pay tremendous amounts of the money to the victors, to the Britain, France, and Russia. Let's come to lesson number 4. A premature dissolution of parliament, and that's happening quite often in circumstances where it's not mandated by law. It is a risky decision. Even voting, which provides justification for future elections, could be interpreted as an admission of what? Democracy collapse. Democracy collapse. In Weimar Republic was still in power. In July 1932, the Nazis received 37% of the vote in free elections that did not satisfy legal requirements. And what happened then? It had been less than 2 years since the previous election, and the next election was scheduled for 1934. Needless to say that Hitler came on power 1933 as a chancellor. Lesson number 5. Constitution do not always safeguard the system effectively. Do you believe that's true? Constitution do not always safeguard the system effectively. Authored by the most lucid and moral authorities, including the Max Weber, the Weimar Constitution was essentially flawless. Flawless. However, if anticipated occurrences such as international politics crisis or internal problems comes to be viewed as extraordinary circumstances necessitating anticipated legal mechanism, then the constitutional protection may soon disappear. Absolutely. Such catastrophes can be manufactured by opponents of democracy. Remember those words, opponents of democracy. Let's go now to the lesson number 6. Lobbies for corporation can play an opaque, behind-the-scenes role in what? In disrupting parliamentary arrangement. We see this for the last 4 or 5 decades. We are all aware that the lobbies play a crucial role in modern society. They're absolutely playing the crucial role. We can ignore that fact, but it's true. Lesson number 7. When leaders dispatch their opponents, they undermine democracies. Foreign Minister Walter Rathenau was murdered in 1922, and prior to his death, right-wing nationalists waged a vicious, frequently anti-Semitic campaign against him. That was happening. Let's go move now on lesson number 8. The family of the president is the potentially detrimental. When we look in the Weimar Republic in 1925 and 1932, the elderly Field Marshal Paul von Hindenburg was elected president of Weimar Republic. That was his role. After the First World War, between 1925 and 1932, he was elected president of Weimar Republic. Now, after numerous heart attacks, he developed dementia in the early 1930s, and only his frail elderly son Oscar had access to him. The president was finally willing to ratify any agreement presented to him. Now think about this one. Only son has the access to the father, who is very, very ill and has dementia. And father will sign everything what the son brings to him. That leads us in lesson number 9. Even a system of proportional representation, an insurgent faction does not require an absolute majority to govern. In July 1932, the Nazis received the highest percentage of the ballots ever, and that was 37%. In the subsequent election held in November of the same year, their popularity plummeted to 33%. Unfortunately, the Nazis' demise caused other parties to underestimate them and view them as a possible coalition partners. That's what the Nazis did. And that leads us now to the lesson number 10 and final lesson. By bribing dissatisfied multitudes, incumbent leaders can maintain power for a time, but this method is not permanent. Doesn't matter how much you bribe politicians or government officials, that method is not permanent. During the Weimar era, the German government generously provided community housing, communal utilities, agricultural and production subsidies, and a vast civil service. However, all of these expenses were financed on credit. That was the problem. Everything was on a credit, buying the peace on credit. Initially, the Weimar Republic did appear to be economic triumph. However, the political situation in Germany deteriorated as the administration sought external aid. So the government was looking for help from outside. It was difficult for the other nations to believe the German government claims that the political catastrophe would ensue if emergency aid was not provided. Well, it didn't happen during the COVID year, as you remember, but could happen. Even more challenging was convincing his supporters of the significance of defending Germany. It's commonly believed that the countries with a majority electoral system, such as the United States or Great Britain, that are more stable than those with proportional system, well, that's questionable. In America and the United Kingdom, democracy has been practiced for longer, and the culture of political correctness is deeply ingrained into fabrics of society. Lessons from the Weimar Republic will assist us in awakening from our stupor of our situation. Let me know what you think. Feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment. Why we don't learn from the history. Lessons from history has paid very dearly and very expensive. Why we don't learn from Weimar Republic. Thank you for watching Live the Battlefield. Feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.